Alrighty, this is the final segment of the review video. Number 19, solve for x. So on this one, you're going to want to separate the triangles into two separate triangles. You're going to have the small one being triangle PTS, and the larger one being PRQ. On the smaller one, you want to label the sides as well as on the larger one. PS is x plus 7. TS is 6. QR is 8. We would have to combine x plus 7 with x minus 1 in order to know what PR would represent. So you have x plus x, which is 2x, and then you have a positive 7 minus 1, which would give you a positive 6. So 2x plus 6. Now that the two are separated, you can set up proportions with the proportional sides. So you have TS is to QR as PS is to PR, which means if I replace it with the value, 6 is to 8 as x plus 7 is to 2x plus 6. So now we cross multiply. You would have 6 times 2x plus 6 is equal to 8 times x plus 7. Then you would have to distribute the 6 on the left, which would give you 12x plus 36, and distribute the 8 on the right, which would give you 8x plus 56. Then subtract 8x from both sides, which gives you 4x plus 36 equals 56. Then subtract 36 from both sides, which would give you 4x is equal to 20. Divide by 4, and x is 5. At the end of the day, we had to just find x. On number 20, we probably want to label the sides first. 8B is, or AB is 8, BC is 14, AD is 12, and we're looking for D. So on this one, we can do part over part equals part over part. In other words, we could say CB is to BA, staying on the left, as ED is to DA. So if I replace it with the numbers, that's 14 over 8 is equal to x over 12. So now we cross multiply, and you get 8x is equal to 12 times 14. I need my handy dandy calculator. 168. And divide by 8 on both sides. So x would be 21. In other words, D is 21. DD. Number 21 says that KT is a mid-segment of the larger triangle JRL, and we're going to solve for X. If you have a mid-segment, the mid-segment, in this case KT, will be half of the larger segment, in this case JR. So what I'm saying is 2 times KT will equal JR. Or another way to look at it is KT is equal to 1/2 of JR. But many of you don't like fractions, so we'll go with the first one that I suggested, but either one would work. So that means 2 times X, which is KT, is equal to JR, which is X plus 8. Subtract X on both sides, so you would have X is equal to 8. And X happens to be KT, so KT is equal to 8. Number 23 wants us to name 3 similar triangles. So I will start with the larger one if I were you, and go L, M, N. I went from the corner to the right angle to the other corner. You probably want to label the hypotenuse as C. So I went down the long leg to the right angle to the short leg. So keep that in mind when it comes to the other similar triangles. So the medium size one, LPM, PN, sorry, I need to, again, travel down the long leg. So I would start at L and go to P, where the right angle is. Sorry, rewind. I did not write it the way I wanted to in the first one. Where's my eraser? Alright, so on the big triangle again, I started at L, traveled down the longer leg to get to the right angle, which is N. So from L, went to the right angle at N, down the long leg, and from N, I went to M, as in Mary. So now on the medium size one, again, I would start at L, travel down the long leg, and I'll meet the right angle at P, and then from P, go to N, which is the shorter leg. So the same idea for the smallest triangle. Start at the corner and travel down the longest leg. So the corner I would start at is N this time to meet the right angle at P, and then end up at M. So again, you have to match it letter for letter. And you would use the technique similar to the one that I use, where I started at a corner and I either traveled down the short leg or the long leg in order to figure out what corners I'm hitting at what particular moment. Number 23 is from Unit 6, where we'd have to use either through the middle or mustache or Pythagorean theorem to find x, y, and z. I would first find x. You don't have to go in alphabetical order, but it's just an option. When I look at the larger right triangle, x is the longer leg. So to find x, you know you would do 20 squared plus x squared equals 40 squared. 20 squared is 400. And 40 squared is 1600. Subtract both sides by 400. And x squared is 1200. So then you take the square roots of both sides and get x is equal to the square root of 1200, which is about 34.6. Now I would find y using the mustache method, because if I start at y, I go around the corner to 20, and from 20 go to the whole side, which is 40. So that's a proportion I could use to find y. So again, from y to 20 and 20 to 40. Now this one you can easily find without using cross multiplication, because you know that y over 20 has to equal 20 over 40, which is 2 over 4, which is 1/2. So you could reduce the fraction to make your number smaller in order to solve it. And so you got to ask yourself, what would y need to be if it's over 20 in order to be 1 over 2? Now, if you're a logical thinker, you already know the answer. But if you still can't see it, go ahead and cross multiply with these smaller numbers to get your answer. So when you cross multiply, you'll have 2y is equal to 20 divided by 2. And for those who already figured it out, y is 10. Y is 10. So keep it simple on yourself. If you can reduce a fraction to make the multiplication part simpler, please do. Nobody said you had to have big numbers all the time. Now, to find z, I would have to use the other part of the mustache, but I'm also going to need x, because I have to go from z around the corner to x and back from x to 40. So from z to x, from x to 40. And that would be z over 34.6 is equal to 34.6 over 40. And now we have to cross multiply, unfortunately, with large numbers and a decimal, but we can do it. So that is 40z is equal to 34.6 times itself, which is 1197.16. 1197.16. Let me keep the calculator up. I'm going to use it again. 1197.16 divided by 40. So z equals 29.9. on the packet. Woohoo! Says, is the dilation from figure A to figure B an enlargement or a reduction? And what is the scale factor? So clearly from the illustration, if I'm going from triangle A to triangle B, my triangles are getting larger. So it is definitely an enlargement. Now we need to know by what factor. So to find the scale factor, you're going to put new over old. The only side from the new we have is 7. From old we have is 4. So the scale factor will be 7/4. And this concludes your tutorial on your review packet. If you understand every problem on this packet, you will be successful on your exam. I can guarantee you. So study hard and make me proud. Good luck.